when the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
To the best soccer show, the best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go! It's the best soccer show. Jason Davis and Jared DuBois live post-game. You can hear my voice.
Whoa.
1-1, the United States draws with Wales in the opening game of the World Cup in Qatar. Beautiful team goal from Tim Weah. Penalty conceded by Walker Zimmerman, converted by Gareth Bale, and we are here to discuss 1 point from that opening game. Jared, how you feeling?
Yeah, I probably would taking this if you had told me pregame. It's just a matter of which it happened. I think the one goal that the U.S. got was quite good, a great combination play. The verticality that Berhalter speaks about, we've always talked about Weah is the only guy that gives that, and you saw it on the goal. Unfortunately, only shot on goal, I believe, the whole game. I think, if I remember correctly, I think that was the only shot on goal.
I believe that is correct, yes.
And
that
then
is a trait of a Berhalter team, isn't it? Lots of good build-ups, things happening out, in the middle third of the field, and then getting into the final third and making the choice that leads to a shot. It's wanting for sure.
Yeah, and then the insertion of Kiefer Moore is one of the biggest things to me. It signaled that Wales was going to go after this game from the start of the second half, giving Bale a true second physical partner up top. And the thing about both those guys is they have size and speed. It's just it's ridiculous the thoroughbreds that those two guys are. They have the ability to just to really put the defense off. I thought Tim Ream had an excellent game.
He did for the most part. When Wales made the change after halftime, that's when things got different for both Ream and for Zimmerman. And obviously, look, Zimmerman committed the foul that led to the penalty. I guess you can blame him there. I mean, as Stuart Holden said on the broadcast, Bale is back to goal at that point. Diving in there does not make any sense. So you want to rip Zimmerman for that moment and cancel out the rest of the game. That's probably fair because ultimately that's why the United States got 1 point instead of 3.
Yeah, I don't know that he thinks that. I think he thinks he gets there first. That's why he's making that move. I don't think he's thinking about Bale in that moment and whether or not Bale's going to have this back to goal. I think he thinks he's going to get there first. And like we just said, Bale is sneaky fast. He's sneaky fast.
Sure.
He's got that step, and he gets there before him, and he takes the hit.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the awareness that a center back has to have in those moments. There's bodies in the box. Wales is playing a cutback. You can't step out, leg out, and risk hitting somebody, risk running into Gareth Bale or anybody for that matter. Look, I don't want to focus just on the negatives. I think there's plenty of positives here. The problem is that the second half leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And I can see the chat lighting up. And obviously we got the phone calls as well, 717-727-BEST for anybody who wants to jump in. The problem is that, and Jared, how many times have you said over the past couple of years that Greg Berhalter is good making adjustments in the second half? The first half is usually bad. The second half is when he makes adjustments and things get better. Completely different story in this game. Very good in the first half. Now that was precipitated by or that was helped by the way Wales set up. And you can say that Rob Page outcoached Greg Berhalter in the second half, but I think it's fair to say Berhalter outcoached Rob Page in the first half, or Page underestimated the Americans in the first half. I don't know, but tale of two halves is absolutely the story here.
Yeah, and I think you can definitely Berhalter is going to have to answer the fact of why they take so long to make the McKinney sub. I think you could see that McKinney was off. He didn't have that many minutes in him, and he's going to have to answer for the fact that Gio Reyna never saw the field. Sure. Even when this last sub is made and you're chasing the game, and the question is he going for the win or is he going for the draw? Or not to lose. And the Jordan Morris sub, I think, is what this is Berhalter doing is him not committing to either strategy. Morris is fresh legs, in a forward position, but he knows he's going to be defensively somewhat coverage.
And this is the thing, I think it's easy before the game to say, well, if this happens, you do this. If this happens, you do that. And certainly for us sitting at home on the couch, it's like, oh, yeah, of course, go for it. Why would you put on a player like Morris and not somebody like Reyna? But you're at the World Cup. If you get 4 points, you have, a 70% chance, something like that, of getting out of the group, right?
Yeah.
if you get a point here and you think you can beat Iran, whatever happens against England, you're into the knockout rounds. And Berhalter is not the first coach to think, okay, let's just not lock it up necessarily, but let's just be relatively conservative and not blow the doors off this thing and risk losing this game, right? And then you really are in trouble because now there's no path to 4 points that doesn't include getting a result against England. And that to me is the story of that choice. And really it's kind of the story of the second half, because as much as we talked about this is a young group, they haven't been here before, how are they going to handle it, and what are the emotions going to be? I thought they handled it very well in the first half, but once Wales started taking the game to them, right? Once it became more difficult, that's when the U.S. didn't quite. I mean, they were close, right? It's one bad moment from Walker Zimmerman. If he doesn't step out, if he keeps Bale on the ball but with his back to goal, maybe there's something that happens there, but there's no guarantees. And look, Matt Turner had to come up with an incredible save. Set pieces were a problem. By the way, set pieces are a problem defensively, but also zero from the Americans on set pieces.
How when Keller Costa comes on the field, is he not taking the corner kicks instead of Pulisic? Why is that still something that we committed to? There's literally Keller Costa, Brendan Aronson was on the field as well, and then Giorena's, if he was in the game. We have three guys that should be taking set pieces before Christian Pulisic.
Yeah,
and maybe it's just not something they practice with those guys taking them, but definitely some things to be answered for here. Now, in terms of the Giorena decision, there could be, let's say Gio Reyna was always in Berhalter's plan to start in the next game. Let's say that it's always like Gio Reyna starting England.
Yeah.
Do you bring a guy that's had injury problems into that game? That game where guys are going down constantly.
Yeah,
and do you want him going into that game with the amount of yellow cards that are being flashed? Do you want him going into the England game with a yellow card on hand? If you potentially, because now if this is a draw game, now as it was at that point where he was making the decision whether to bring Jordan Morrison or not, you have to get points. Yeah, you have to. It's going to be a goal differential. Goal differential is probably going to be in play here because you got to figure both these teams will probably lose to England, and it's about how much can you beat Iran by, and how pragmatic can you be versus England.
As much as I understand, maybe kicking the can down the road and playing for the draw in this game at the end of the match and not throwing a Gio Reyna card out there.
Yeah.
I also don't think you can look at the England game and just say, well, this is a loss. Let's move on to Iran and try to get 3 points. I mean, but so that is going to dictate. I mean, yellow cards are a factor here. Obviously, rotation and energy levels and everything else. I mean, we'll talk about it. Okay, phone lines are lighting up. Let's get to everybody who wants to jump in here. Mike from Philly, our man up there in Philadelphia. What's up, Mike?
First things first, I hate Gareth Bale more than any other person on the planet because, dude, come on. Of all the players, could it not have just been some other dopey-looking Welsh player? It had to be that guy? All right. And then aside from that, I know there's going to be the conversation. If I told you at the start of the game, you get a point on Wales, blah, blah, I throw that out the window. I look at this as a failure. They had a golden opportunity because, quite frankly, the first half was phenomenal. I don't want to say they were horrible the whole game. They had a golden opportunity and they failed to capitalize on it, and that's the concerning part. You can say I'm moving the goalposts, and it's yeah, I am moving the goalposts because I watched how that game was unfolding, and they had every opportunity in the world to walk away with 3 points today, and they didn't take it. And it's a failure.
It's a harsh read. Let me do this for
Michael freaking Arasco
for our man Mike in Philly. I mean, look, it's a hard. No. I wanted to get it. I didn't want to just jump right into that. It's a harsh read on this team, but I think considering the opportunity that was there, yeah, it's hard not to come out of that feeling like it's a drop 2 points rather than it's 1 point towards qualification to the knockout rounds.
It's hard to be. Here's the thing: if you're in Wales' position, if you got the point in the second half, you won it back for yourself, you leave that game feeling differently. We're in the position where we had the 3 points for 60, 70, was it 82nd minute? When did he score that, the PK? Something like 80th minute, I think, or 82nd minute.
Like
so it feels stolen from you. And there's going to be people who are asking, what's the reasoning for that?
We're going to continue to take Mike, go ahead. Sorry. Jared's party in the background is quite a thing. I don't know if anybody else can hear that.
I'm trying to work the mic when I can.
What's up, Mike? Go ahead. Oh, he's gone.
Mike's
Okay.
gone.
Let's go. All right. Hey, hold on. Producer, everybody's testy today. Let's go to David in Orlando. What's up, David?
Hey guys, how you guys doing? So, my thoughts coming into the group was that England was going to win all three, Iran was going to lose all three, we were going to draw Wales, and goal differential was going to get everybody through. I'm sure I'm not the only one who said that. And so, before this match, 1-1 seemed about right. But when they were working hard in the first half, they were looking good in the first half. They got that goal at the end of the first half. Everybody was like, "Heck yeah! Here's our chance for three. Sew it up, money in the bank." And then to push for 50 minutes like that, and then it feels like a waste at the end here to give up that penalty, and that was that. It feels like the match was wasted. The opportunity was right there, and we let it slip through our hands.
Yeah, and this is what Kai says right here. Kai718 in the chat says Wales are awful. We should have beaten them. I don't know if they're awful.
They're not
but
awful. They're not awful.
They didn't play well in the first half, though.
No,
they did
didn't.
not play well in the first half.
They didn't, and that would be the reason that you feel let down is because they didn't play well. Now the U.S.
You can say something about the U.S. too. If you only create one shot on goal for 90 minutes, did you play well?
Yeah, I mean, for that, but I'm saying right, man. This is the World Cup, so is the bar raised, and now we're more disappointed because they don't put in a better performance than that over the course of 90 minutes because it is on balance, not just the first half, not just the goal, or is it, wow, okay, this is their very first World Cup game as a group, and for everybody except DeAndre Yedlin, their first World Cup game ever.
Guess what? So is Wales.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that Wales still has players that have been in. I don't know. It's going to a question. I mean, they played in the Euros together. Wales did. They didn't play in World Cup together. They played in a Euros. The United States has no big tournament experience. I don't know that you give them a pass for that, but it is something to consider when you look at the
if you want to find something to be positive
performance.
about, and maybe some people just don't want to be in that headspace right now. I know it's hard for me to be in that headspace right now. You can take pride in the fact that your captain Tyler Adams put in a freaking shift. That guy put in a shift out there. Your team for the first half played the game that their coach put in front of them. They played the way you'd want them to play in a World Cup, not scared, put their stamp on the game, and for 45 minutes controlled that game and put themselves in position to win. Now, down the road, did the maturity show its face? I think it did. I think maturity showed its face a little bit towards the end when we have a few guys that had it's something we've seen all through qualifying, inconsistency for 90 minutes. Guys that can't do it for the full 90. They got 45 of them. They got 60. There's concentration issues. There's maturity issues. And also, Wales took it to them physically. They took it to them physically really, really hard. And I think some of the players weren't ready for that level of physicality in this game. And I think that matters.
Yeah, man, look, I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm giving anybody an excuse. I just keep thinking that, and it's such a weird experience 8 years after the last time the United States played in a World Cup to have that anxiety, right? The oh my God, I feel both sick and elated at the exact same time. Like I feel like I kind of want to die, but also this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Like those two feelings existing at the same time in the same person, man, like you said, if you had said, here's a point from their first World Cup game in 8 years with an average age on the field of 25 years old, with Tim Ream skewing that dramatically by being 35, man, I don't know. I think I would have just been like, that sounds great. Let's just roll with that. Why am I suddenly going to change my mind after the fact? Because every game does this, right? Every game presents multiple situations where it's like, well, we could have won that game. You could have, would have, should have, would have. Every game has this. If only that one chance was created, everything's different.
One thing I am positive about, and I'm going to choose to have, I'm going to choose to try to leave this positive at this point, and that's a choice everyone gets to make for themselves, is that this team knows that they can play World Cup caliber football when they play their way, and they have confidence. We saw them do it. Now, is England going to be the same team? No, but I guarantee you England thinks they're up for a different game now than they thought they were going to get as well. They're not going to have Iran next game. They're going to have two teams that are going to put them on their ass. And I think we should. I think you should be physical. So that begs the question then, what's the right personnel moves to kind of bring that game out?
We'll certainly talk about that, leading into that game. Well, I don't know if we're going to be doing a show before then or now, but
we're doing one now.
We're doing one now. We'll talk about it. Let's go back to David in Orlando. David, what else you got?
the only other thing was I feel like in qualifying we had crappy first half, tried to figure it out, and did better in the second half, or we had a crap game the whole 90. This was the opposite. The first half we were so much better than the second half. So I think it's leaving that terrible taste in my mouth after seeing this 90 minutes. But I want to go bang chains to get some frustration out.
All right, there you go. That's what you do. You go bang some change. I'm gonna let David go.
Yeah.
Jared, I'm there's 3 other calls waiting, and I definitely want to get to them. But I'm curious, and this is more of a question than it is my opinion. I'm just curious. I'm seeing all the chat. I'm seeing the comments in the chat, and there's a lot of like, oh, if only Greg Berhalter wasn't our coach, we would have won this game. Or if Greg Berhalter hadn't screwed up the second half substitutes, we would have won this game. Greg Berhalter gets ripped for bad substitutions, for the way they play in the second half, for them losing the game, or losing 2 points rather, dropping the 2 points. Does he not get credit for the way they play in the first half?
Yeah, he does, but that's you're
that's
completely
not what I'm
misunderstanding
seeing.
the fan base.
No, I'm not talking about the attitude of the fan base. I'm asking you, like, is there something
most
to be
people
said?
I think most people are of the default position of these players have the ability
If
to
they play well,
outplay
it's the
Berhalter's
players. If they don't play well, it's the coach, right? That's the difference.
I think that they have a default position that Berhalter sucks, and so if they ever play well, it's the players outliving or outshining Berhalter's ability.
Right.
You can have that opinion if you want, but at the end of the day, it looks like these players want to play for him, and I'm happy for him. He's the guy that's there right now. I'm going to choose to say that we're 1 point. I'm disappointed that we didn't get 3, but we still have a chance of making it out, a decent chance of making it out of this group.
All right, and look, ultimately it's going to come down. I mean, I don't know what the approach is for England, and maybe we should talk about that. What is the right approach for England, knowing that you're probably going to have to beat Iran by multiple goals to get through? Devin from Atlanta, you're on the air. What's up?
What's going on, Jason? How you been, man? Long time no chat.
It's good talking to you, Devin. Also, Jared's here. Go ahead.
What's up, Jared? This game gives me big-time 1994 vibes. This was USA Switzerland all over again. Amazing first half, terrible second half. Highlight of the match: Tim Weah and Anthony Robinson. Those guys came to play, and like you guys said, Tyler Adams was a beast as well. My biggest number is the fact that Jason, we're a Matt Turner worldie away from losing. Seriously.
Okay.
The defense,
all right. I hate this game. This is my least favorite game when it comes to this sport. Everybody's like, if this thing had happened, we would have lost. Yeah, of course, but it didn't happen. That's why Matt Turner's in the team.
hadn't slid, we would have won. I mean, you can play both ways.
Oh, sure. And
why do we choose to do this to ourselves as fans? Why do we choose to do this?
This is the thing. Like, okay, if we're going to take this to its extreme, I mean, if there was a couple of crosses in there, if DeAndre Edlin's cross finds Haji Wright, we win the game. I mean, I understand that the difference in a header being saved and a header not even being put on goal is vast, but I'm saying there are so many moments in that game. If the outlet comes off in one of those counterattacking opportunities in the second half, instead of being toe poked away by a Wales player, then who knows what could have happened. I mean, we're also, if Tim Weah decides to take that with his left foot and get saved, obviously we lose the game that way that way as well. I just don't like this thing where there's a million different things in a game that could have gone differently. Yeah. But go ahead, Devin. Go ahead.
Let me get back to the other things then. We need to talk about number 11. Both of them, awful. Brendan Aronson was awful. I don't know why everybody's see him be a starter. His on-the-ball knowledge, play way into the second ball, you got a one-on-one and goal. Instead, you make a turnover. He had 6 turnovers in the midfield in the second half. Like, not good enough. And Christian Pulisic, you're not a corner kick taker. Yeah. You're barely a 10, and you're flopping it every day. I need more from you, dude, because otherwise, play right now. Give me Theo Reina.
Hold on. Okay. I got 3 other calls. I want to get to this.
Brendan Aronson was great.
I don't think Brendan Aronson was great. Okay.
I don't think he was terrible either, though.
No, I think he was okay for what it was. I also think Christian Pulisic was up for it. The set piece service is bad. Don't get me wrong. It's bad, and he shouldn't be taking set pieces. But he was dangerous. Wales was on him because he makes such a difference in just how much attention he draws. The guy goes down, but that's because he gets hacked. He gets hacked. He might go down occasionally when there's not as much contact, but can you blame him when he's hacked that much? I'm not saying he was great today, but he did set up Weah for the goal. He did have plenty of opportunities. Look, they were trying to squeeze Christian Pulisic along the left side, right? And there wasn't a lot of options being given to him in terms of combination. They could get Anthony Robinson into a
I think
pocket.
Pulisic had one of his better games. I think he really did have one of his better games. I think at times you still saw that tendency to try to do too much when he gets isolated on the wing and he's 1v1. But I also thought he found a very good job. He did a very good job finding the pockets between the lines on the turn. And when he finds that pocket on the half turn, the U.S. becomes dangerous. That's where the goal came from, partially.
Yeah.
And also when it comes back to Aronson, I think you saw the dichotomy of what Leeds is in Brendan Aronson in this game, where the industry, winning the ball, getting into space, and then the lack of, I want to say, composure to make the simple, intelligent pass or something like that, and giving the ball away and the other team's running and Tyler Adams has to do something amazing. You saw that in this. So it's the good and the bad with Brendan Aronson. The industry, the ball winning, the movement, but the final pass, he holds the ball too long. He holds the ball too long when he needs to distribute, and sometimes he doesn't do the simple thing. And I think you could see that today in that.
Yeah, I think all of these guys have, and this includes Pulisic, right? They all have just a little bit extra or a little bit of sharpness that if that was there. Now, but that's the thing. It's just like saying, oh, if Turner doesn't make that save, then we lose this game. If that little bit of sharpness comes, well, that's the difference between Argentina, Brazil, France, and the United States of America, right? Again, I think we could take some positives from this game while recognizing that there were plenty of bad
I want to
things.
respond to this real quick. So this one from Moloko5. He says, Aronson lost the ball a couple of times. We recovered many more times and created some of our better chances once he was on. That's a true statement. But the problem is you're playing a team in Wales that wants to recover the ball in midfield and counter. That's what their whole game plan is. So losing the ball a couple of times, you can't just gloss over that.
Right.
That is the number one thing that the other team wants from you for their offense. So you can't gloss over that.
The difference between being an average team or an okay team or a team that can win occasionally, a team that could maybe make the knockout rounds of the World Cup but not go far, and being a great team is literally being able to take those aggressive attacking moments, the moments when you are taking a risk, and that ball being that much better, right? This is the margin between winning a World Cup and being around a 16 or a quarterfinalist. That's the difference.
I think
and right now the guys is not there. I'm not saying it's not a disappointment. I'm not sure how much of that. Look, again, does Giovanni Reina come into that game and make such a massive difference, or does he create a chance by himself, or does he do something different than what we saw? I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he does. Maybe he gets
I think one of the big things you saw is that McKennie probably has 45 minutes in right now. I'm sure he'll build up some fitness if we go deep enough in the tournament. But the 45 you get from him is a quality 45. He was one of the better players in the first half. His combination passing, his touch in space, his ability to get up and win some balls defensively in the air.
He's just
a
presence too. He's just a presence.
I
you don't get that with Aronson. You don't get that.
He is a vibe guy
in
the lineup, but I don't think he has more than 45. Looking at what I saw today, I don't think he has it.
We'll see what happens against. We can talk about England lineups here in a couple minutes. James from Jersey. James, you're on the Best Soccer Show. What's up?
What's up, guys?
What's up, buddy?
Not much, guys. I'm just heading back from City. I was in Legends. It's a good atmosphere. Definitely recommend anybody in the New York area for Friday. But, I mean, I come away from that, and my biggest question is what happened during that halftime break. I mean, like everybody, it was an amazing first half. They totally controlled the game. And then in the second half, I had a feeling, I think we all kind of knew that Wales were going to come out in the second half wanting to make amends for the first half with the veterans that they have. The shots of the coach during the first half, he was clearly livid. But, Jason, I will put it on Berhalter, and the reason why, in my book, at the very least, he gets blamed for the first half or for the second half, and not as much credit for the first half is because if you're a professional player playing in your first World Cup and you're not naturally motivated and ready to run through a brick wall in that start of the game, then there's something wrong with you. So to me, it's natural that the players were ready and hungry and on it in the first half. And for me, the job of a coach is to make sure that they maintain that in the second half. And what I saw was a team that just totally dropped. They acted like they were up 2-3 goals. And the second half subs were terrible. So
we can talk about the subs. I don't think this team. Okay,
I think they tried to come out
responsible. Hold on, Berhalter's responsible for a drop in energy coming out of halftime. Is he responsible for that? Did he tell? Do you think he told them, "Hey, sit back"?
As the head coach of the team, as the head coach of a young team that's in their first World Cup qualifying team, you have to make sure that they're ready to come out in the second half with the same energy in the first half. That's on the head coach in my book.
Okay.
Right. Listen, I don't know that energy was the problem. I think we're using the wrong term here. I for sure.
Well, no, it's absolutely true. Sorry, real quick. It's absolutely true. And you put up a comment that the issue was the not planning for Wales to change up.
That is a different story. Now, I think what you saw is that Wales coach made the first move. He made the first move, and it was a game-changing move. And so what Berhalter negated to do is to think that he could make the adjustment for the Kiefer Moore substitution and the positional change, the way they're going to, the attacking formational change that Wales were going to go with. He felt that he had the pieces on the field to deal with it. He didn't. So that, if you want to hold Berhalter to something, that is 100% something you should do, because it took him till the 62nd minute to make the move. Now, granted, Wales didn't score in that time, so you could say that Berhalter was vindicated in the fact he didn't make a move. But what you saw was allowing for about 20 minutes for Wales to find the game, to find their way back in, to slowly start getting their way into it and start putting their stamp on it.
So I know everybody's saying the subs were terrible, and I know that the Reyna not being on the field, but that doesn't change the issues the U.S. had when Kiefer Moore came on. So you tell me, what is the response? I'm trying to set you up. It's not a gotcha question. I really want to know what people think. What should the response have been to Kiefer Moore change? Because what Kiefer Moore did was create a focal point for Wales, and he pushed the back line of the United States deeper, right? You now have to account for Kiefer Moore winning balls in the air. You have to consider, and he's fast enough to beat you in a foot race as well. So now you're creating gaps in midfield, right?
Yeah,
and they're pressing higher. They're using that to press higher. So now what do?
I think there's two things that could have been done there. I don't think you're making a change to the back line. The back line looked really good for most of this game, aside from Walker Zimmerman making one bad mental miscue. I think Yedlin got exposed a bit once he came in. But the starting four, I don't think there was any adjustment that needed to be made there. I think Berhalter didn't necessarily evaluate the fitness correctly of McKennie at halftime and whether he still had enough in the tank to keep going.
Should have had him off at half. He was grabbing his groin during the first half.
Yeah, and so either then you make the Kellen Acosta move, which is a very defensive move. Maybe if he's healthy and he is dressed, look at De La Torre, because what you saw that the U.S. was... Let me finish.
There's no way he's ready.
Okay, but can you just let me finish? Sure. So what the U.S. was missing was composure in that first 20 minutes. Composure in the midfield. As Wales was pressing and finally coming out of their defensive third, the second balls weren't as easy as they were in the first half. You know, like getting that... You need a guy that can take a tempo. You needed a tempo player that could take his foot off the ball a little bit, move it around some, under pressure, in slotted places. Now, maybe Luca De La Torre couldn't go and he wasn't an option. If he wasn't, throw everything I just said out the window. But the evaluation is correct. They needed a tempo player in that moment.
So Kiefer Moore comes on. Are you, if you're Greg Berhalter, are you having played very well in that first half, having a goal lead, obviously thinking maybe we should have gotten a second, but feeling pretty good about the way that your team is playing? Do you then watch the Wales bench, and as soon as you see Kiefer Moore get up and get ready, you're like, okay, well, let's scramble. Let's get somebody else into this game. Now, again, the McKennie decision can be separate from anything that Wales does, because it certainly seemed as though he was not going to have a ton left in the tank. The obviously argument, and this is not what I'm saying I would do, but the argument against making a change at halftime is that you have the lead. So why should you be making proactive choices when you have the lead and you're the better team? Why wouldn't you just stick with what you have done to this point? Now, again, once Wales stepped up into the game, once they started pressing higher, once they pushed Kiefer Moore higher, and you had to find a response, I can acknowledge certainly there is a reason to make a change there, and maybe it is Weston McKennie. McKennie comes off, as you said, in the 62nd minute. He comes off in the 62nd minute, and they score in the 82nd minute via penalty kick.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, we're viewing that period as a failure, What, because the United States didn't score another goal and
No,
give
it's because
themselves...
Dempsey, I think you were watching the Spanish feed, so you probably didn't see Donovan and Dempsey what they were saying at halftime, but it was
Kind of.
more of the same. More of the same. Don't change a thing. More of the same. They exactly what they're giving you. Keep taking it from them. And I don't think Berhalter was necessarily wrong, but what everyone didn't know at that moment was that Kiefer Moore was coming in at the half. That was unknown at that point.
Well, okay, so and to the argument of some of the people in the chat, this is what Wales does. This is what Rob Page does. It's not like no one came into the World Cup knowing that Kiefer Moore was going to be a factor for Wales. They knew he was. No. This is what I'm saying, though. So if you are Berhalter,
there should have been a game plan for it. Yes.
If you see Moore get up and you know Moore's going to be in the game, do you then scramble to get a sub ready at half, even though you are predominant, even though you are the better team, or do you wait 20 minutes to figure out, okay, this isn't working for us, we need to make a change, which is what he did. He waited 20 minutes. Yeah. There was obviously a problem in the midfield with McKennie and his energy level or whatever. I mean, we can argue about Acosta or whatever the choice is there, but that
I thought Musa
anyway.
looked a little off today too. I don't think he looked as clean on the ball as he normally is. I think there's times where when he was running in space, he looked like himself. But I mean, remember there was one point where he just passed the ball to no one. Like it was really weird. Like there's a couple things like that.
I'm going to get to the calls. That's why we're here. Luis says the team lost the midfield. That's why you make changes. He made changes. Now, if you're arguing he made the wrong changes,
62nd minute, that's what he's saying.
But okay, so how long do you wait? You're the better team in the first half. Kiefer Moore comes on. They make changes. How long do you wait before you say we lost the midfield? You wait 5 minutes. You wait 10 minutes. If it's 10 minutes and you're losing the midfield, you make the change at 55. Is that what you're telling me?
It's hard
okay.
because you're committing to subs early in the game, not knowing what's going to happen, and all the chippiness and the yellow cards that are out there. I get why Berhalter was waiting, but in hindsight, maybe it should have been something a little bit earlier because, like I said, it gave confidence to Wales. That 20 minutes,
okay.
It just gave more and more confidence to it.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Felix in Chicago. Felix, you're on the air. What's up?
Hey, guys. Yeah, no, some of my thoughts on what we're talking about. I think we're making a lot of the Kiefer Moore substitution. Remember, they didn't score until like the 82nd minute.
Yeah.
And it's not like they generated a lot of chances. It wasn't like they were just peppering the goal and Turner was jumping and diving all over the place, saving everything. It wasn't like that. They were always going to look better in the second half. They, as in Wales, they were terrible in the first half, but it was really because they chose to sit back, right? That's why. You saw them sitting back. They were like 30, 40 yards outside of their own goal. I mean, Ream and Zimmerman were pushed all the way up into the opposing half of the field. Of course we were going to look good in that type of situation. So I think we're making a little too much of the Kiefer Moore thing. I think fair point that McKennie should have came off sooner. Of course, clearly he wasn't 90 minutes fit.
Yeah,
I think it's a fair point. I think who could have came on instead? Aronson, I think, was the obvious choice, but if that's the other thing that we can sit there and get all worked up about certain things that Berhalter did or didn't do. Aronson is the obvious choice, I think, to go in for McKennie. He did, but Aronson wasn't amazing. He was all right, but he wasn't amazing. There's only so much you can do. And remember, going into this, Aronson was the form guy, right? Aronson and Reyna are the form guys. So if there's anyone who's going to look great, it's going to be Brendan Aronson, and he didn't. Which is why sometimes we get a little too carried away with form and acting like that's the end-all and be-all of every argument. So I would say, that would be my argument to the whole Kiefer Moore thing and making a little too much of it. The other thing I want to say, and you guys have touched on it here and there, is we had a lot of chances in the first half and in the second half at times to put this game away. True. There was too many giveaways, too much hero ball. Yeah. The set piece service, which a lot of people hammered on, was awful. Again, which has been a theme going all the way into World Cup qualifying. Even after Kellen Acosta came on the field, Pulisic was still taking set pieces. So I think that's something that definitely can be addressed. The set pieces, they have to get someone else. Like I like Pulisic as much as everybody. He had that assist. So you can't just destroy the guy. But at the same time, he can't be taking set pieces anymore. He just can't. So I think overall, what we've seen is a theme that we have seen throughout qualifying, is that this is a very talented but young and inconsistent team that are capable of playing out of their minds or capable of just stinking the joint out. And they can do it in the same game.
Yeah,
and I think we saw that again tonight. They had their moments, and then they had their moments when they were awful. And will that team get out of the group? I have no idea.
Yeah, we don't have it confirmed just yet, but there are some rumors out there. They're starting to come out. It looks like Baby Reyna had a knock, and they're being careful. And if that's the case, He didn't
Right.
have a chance to play.
Yeah,
And
didn't
that's
have a chance to
true.
play, yeah.
If it's true and you don't have Reyna as an option, and let's say Luca De La Torre is not as fit as we think he is, he's for later in the tournament maybe. Now knowing that if Reyna and Luca De La Torre weren't options, does that change the way you feel about the Berhalter sub situation?
I mean, where else would he turn? He turned to Kellen Acosta.
It could have
a
been Brent
player
Anderson
he-
earlier. That could have been an option, but
Could have been. Could have been. I mean, sure. I don't think that's a wrong thing to say. Who did Aronson come on for? He came on for McKennie.
McKennie, they did the
He came off
three-person.
of McKennie.
Wasn't that for the three-person sub? I can't remember. No,
No, I
yeah,
think-
Costa.
No, McKennie came off in the 66 for Brendan
It was,
Aronson.
it was Acosta, Wright, and Yedlin all came in at the same time. The
sure,
three-man
but
switch.
what I'm
was
saying,
it.
no,
Was
McKennie came
Acosta
off
for
as
McKennie.
No, it was they may have positionally done that, but Brendan Aronson came on and Weston McKennie left at the 66th minute. That's what happened in terms of the substitution in that window.
Okay.
Then Kellen Acosta came on as part of the three-player swap, and he came on for Yunus Musa, who left the game at that point. And I'm not sure that Musa staying on would have necessarily been better than that.
It was more of attrition out there. Those guys
Musa
were
wasn't
messed
great.
up.
He brought energy into the
Musa
middle in the
wasn't
midfield.
amazing.
No, he wasn't. Felix,
So
I'll let you
Musa
go because I
wasn't
got.
amazing. Yeah.
I got to let you go. I'm going to let to some
Sure.
other calls here because I don't want to make sure we get to everybody and feel like I've been talking too much. Corey, you can tell my voice is not World Cup ready, apparently. Me and Greg Berhalter, not World Cup ready.
You and Rob Stone.
Corey from Raleigh. Corey, go ahead.
Hey guys, first time, long time.
Appreciate it, man.
I think Jay Rodius is in. He's in form right now. I'm agreeing with almost all of his takes right now. I think composure was pretty much the missing element. I'm more positive on this than most people. Like I think we need to take a step back and realize, guys, like we didn't even make the last World Cup, so like let's calm down a bit. We have a big game coming on Friday. We can't be eliminated heading into Game 3 no matter what. So I'm choosing to see the positive there. It was like a C- performance. There was some really good stuff. Like Tim Ream played excellent.
Yeah.
Tyler Adams was excellent. Pulisic took a beating. I mean, everyone talked about the set pieces. It drives me crazy. Like objectively, there has to be a better option on the team. We need to look into that, but I'm not going to beat him up too bad for that. And I think I get it. I think Berhalter was probably a little bit paralyzed with what to do at halftime. I did think, like I said it heading into halftime in text to friends, it looked like McKennie needed to come off at that point. So they maybe could have made that move a little sooner. But, I mean, we don't have that much on the bench that any of us really trust. Like, let's be real. You get past 3-4 guys at the third. I love them all, and I support them when they're on the field. But it's kind of a bunch of guys. So if Reyna wasn't healthy, that totally explains that. And, it's just one bad decision by Zimmerman in an otherwise pretty good game that changes the tenor of everything. So I'm not going to lose my cool over it. Got a big game on Friday. I'm not as bummed out as I thought I might be. But I'm going to drop. Thanks. Love to hear your thoughts.
All right, I appreciate your call.
I think he's nailed it. If I was going to tell you my top three players, I think Tyler Adams have player of the game, with Ream right close second, and then a little bit further down with that, I would say Christian Pulisic still probably the third best player on the field for the U.S. Today. Because
Even though Timmy Weah scored.
But what else did Tim Weah do in the game?
He had a couple of moments
and
out there.
how did he score? Christian Pulisic set him up.
Set him up. Yeah, but it's a
I
good
think Tim
finish.
Weah, if anything, we didn't use the right side of the field as much as we could have during that game. I think we forced the left a lot because it's what Wales was willing to give us. But I think Tim Weah was out of the game for a good portion of it. When he was in, magic. But I think Pulisic, what I liked about Pulisic is that I felt like he showed a little bit of maturity today, like saying he didn't just give what Wales was going to give him. He found that pocket of space between the two lines. That's where he has to be, because if he's not cutting inside and opening up that channel for Robinson, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. He has to find that in transition, that 1-2 pass combination with McKennie or Adams or Musa that unlocks, and he's facing the goal.
Man, but you saw as good as Tyler Adams was, especially covering ground and doing Tyler Adams things, you can see how much of a weak link he is passing the ball. It just doesn't come easy for him to find
who is that?
those
What you think?
moments. Tyler Adams. It's just not. It's the weakest part of his game, but it's disappointing because he's so good at everything else. But you can see. I mean, there were moments in that second half when he's got the ball in the attacking third. He's central, and he just can't. It's just not there for him. The read does not happen, and he cannot see the pass, and he can't make the pass. So there you go. I was just looking at the FOTMob's ratings. You said that your top three players were Pulisic, Ream, Adams and Pulisic, correct.
Adams first, Ream second, Pulisic third.
Okay. So according to FOTMob, their ratings, right? Tyler Adams was 7.5. That was tied for the top for the United States. Matt Turner got a 7.5, and Timmy Weah got a 7.5. Okay.
You know that gets overweighted for the goal.
I'm about to show you something. I'm about to tell you something else that's going to confound you. Tim Ream got a 7.3, which I think is that's good. Okay. Dash 7.1, Jedi Robinson 7.3, Musa and McKennie both got not great scores, 6.6 and 6.5 respectively. Pulisic was a 6.9, Sargent a 6.5, which I think underrates his contribution on the goal.
Yep.
The player of the game across both teams, who do you think it was, Jared?
Across both teams?
Yeah.
Man.
Who was the best player in the game?
I would have said Tyler Adams.
You would have said Tyler Adams. Gareth Bale got an 8.2.
Oh,
do you think Gareth Bale had an
8.2
kind of day? I'm just saying.
He's getting points for the haircut or something. I don't know, man. Like the guy scored from 12 yards out with no defender. Like that's all he did.
He had maybe one or two other moments. Maybe
nothing. There is nothing. Like Tim Ream had him in his pocket the whole game, man.
By the way, this is banned. We are banning this. Okay, I'm not doing this today. England is going to give us hell if the way we played today to be England court is okay. Whatever. We're not doing that thing. Well, if we play like this, England's going to stomp us. We're not doing that. Okay, whether you think it's true or not, I just don't think that serves any purpose whatsoever. Every game is its own individual thing. England's better. We know England's better. If the United States didn't show up,
what percentage would you give to the exact same 11 starting next game?
0%.
I think it's pretty close. Maybe like 10%.
I think it's 0%.
I think a combination of the yellow cards, because here's the thing, you need all your horses for the Iran games. That's where the goal differential is. That's where the opportunity is. You don't give up on the England game, but you got to keep an eye on that Iran game. Because you drew here, you've got to open up the doors on goal differential in the
You really hope that Iran improves dramatically. Maybe they got punched in the mouth and they'll bounce back. Again, they don't have their first choice goalkeeper. I can't imagine he plays
was only able to play as Asmoon was only going to play as a sub. Maybe he gets more minutes. Maybe he
but Taremi looks good. And maybe Taremi can do some things against Wales, and that keeps it close. And then the United States can maybe take their advantage. We'll see. I mean, not going to be an easy path now. Chad from Durham, you're on the Best Soccer Show. What's up?
Hey, boys. Thank you for taking the calls. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So Wales was there for the taking. No offensive threat at all. None. We didn't push and punish them. And with the 4 to 5 goals we should have put away in the first half. We have to put these teams to the sword. It then also helps the rest was also yellow card happy in the first half. But you need to rough these teams up, get them off their game. That's like what America is. So that's what we should be, doing, but it didn't help that the rest was yellow card happy. But I just don't know what our plan B is, against these teams that sit back. It was like Japan all over. After halftime, their coach is obviously going to give them a good game plan to stall our threats. And once we saw those threats, we basically bunkered in, got happy. And we saw that they made adjustments, and we stopped playing quick 1-2 touch and got complacent. So that was really frustrating. And the only way they're going to score is cross or a set piece, and that's exactly what we gave them. In the second half, Bale's quality, but his legs are, caught up to him. His age is,
Yeah, I'll also say, can we stop playing zone? Can we stop playing zone on set pieces? It is so frustrating. And a guy like Gareth Bale, a guy like Kiefer Moore, they can get through that. I mean, Kiefer Moore got free open header one time and put it over the bar. I mean, I just don't have any confidence when I see that zonal marking at the highest level. I just don't get it. I just don't think we're meant for it.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing.
Didn't.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate the call, Chad. Got to get some other people on here. I was just looking at something. You think about the way the U.S. has played in World Cups past. I'm not sure I've ever seen the United States have the initiative the way they did in the first half against Wales today. Now, I'm not saying that wipes away the bad things or it makes it so that we should be happy when they drop 2 points, because they did drop 2 points. But, I mean, have you ever seen the United States play like that in a World Cup against anybody? I mean, I suppose you could go back to, who's a team that would have bunkered against us the World Cup?
Honestly, I feel very similar to the 2002 Portugal game, where we came out trying to show that we could play against them.
Sure, but we played and they wanted to play too. They weren't sitting back. They were not playing the way that Wales played today. I'm simply saying that for the United States to morph into a team that can break down a team that's bunkering at the World Cup is a complete change in attitude for us, right? We used to be the team that would do that against everybody. We had to, right? Even when we beat Mexico at the World Cup in 2002, even when we beat Ghana at the World Cup in 2014, even when we drew with England in 2010, there was no like, oh, we're going to come out, we're going to push numbers forward, we're going to try to break you down, we're going to play in combination, we're going to look to exploit wide spaces. It was literally, we're going to defend, we're going to be one of the ones to turn you over, and then we're going to try to beat you in transition or set pieces, right?
That's true.
And now the problem is that we've lost the set piece ability for the moment. It's been there in this reign of Berhalter's, but not enough right now, and we don't have a trustworthy set piece taker. And I would argue that when somebody said, when the question is, do we have a plan B? If the plan B is to become that team again, okay, great, but I don't think we know how to do that. I don't think this team knows how to do that anymore. I think it's a problem.
I think some folks know how to do it. I mean, obviously, if we wanted to be that team again, we would move to the double pivot. Tyler Adams plays into double pivot. There's guys that know that the core elements of that, they know how to do it. I think Tim Ream would work well in that kind of system as well, because it means you're further back in the field. You're not playing as high of a line. So I think there's elements to do, but you're right. We don't play it often. And honestly, I don't think we should. I think the whole point of this, if we're being honest, what his vision was to change the way people think about American soccer. That means us too. That doesn't mean the rest of the world. It means we have to change as well. We have to be willing to take a risk. Now, that being said, I don't think Jordan Morris was a risk. I think there was other risks he could have taken to try and win this game rather than not lose it at the end. But at the end of the day, he gets the choice to be pragmatic, not us.
All right, let's go to Jeff in LA. I got a bunch of calls. I want to make sure I get to all of them. We do have to kind of shut up shop at the top of the hour, so it's going to be a tight hour show. Jeff from LA, you're on the air. What's up?
Gentle folks, how do we do?
Gentle folks, Jared. We're gentle folks now.
I guess I appreciate that you gave me a classy name.
My man in the IE, how we doing today?
Oh, I'm doing peachy keen, sir.
Is that what you guys say in the IE? Do you say peachy keen? I hope you guys keep that alive.
The IE, baby, where dreams go to die. Look, let's talk about this a little bit. Let's just take a step back. And again, the three of us have had this conversation. You guys are paid, or Jared has a day job. I don't think you do, Jason. But you guys are paid to have all this hyperbolic conjecture and really go out on a limb and really throw all these superlatives. But when you just take a step back, it's you guys, right? You guys who I listen to, and I love every take you have. I listen to it. I'm on the edge of my seat. And then there's all the morons on Twitter who claim that the United States men's national team fans, but they're a bunch of 15-year-old slobs sitting in their mom's basement, typing away on their keyboards with hockey ducks all over the keyboard, yelling, "Mom, where's the meatloaf?" Okay? We need some adults in the room to have some level of maturity, okay? We need some adults in the room to have some level-headed approach to what we watch every single time this team takes the pitch, okay? I was at the World Cup in 1994, okay? I've watched every game this team has played over the last 20 to 30 years, just like you guys, and that's why I listen to you, okay? But there comes a time when we have to have a fair and balanced approach to what we see on the pitch. And today, okay, if we watch the game, let's talk about 3 or 4 bullet points.
You got to go faster, Jeff.
Okay.
You got to go faster, my friend.
I'm going to go faster. You know what? But this is the best content you're going to have all day. So you sit back and relax, okay? This is what the people have come to, okay? In the first half, we come out, and we're dictating the pace of play, right? But guess what? There's 2 teams on the pitch. There are 2 teams on the pitch. Wales also made a tactical decision to sit back, and we took advantage of that. And that's why we look so good. Hard stop. Bullet point number 2. They come out in the second half. They make changes. There are 2 teams on the pitch. There's not just one team, okay? There's 2 teams who want to go out and win a football game. People forget to mention, Greg did this, Greg has diarrhea, Greg has hemorrhoids, Greg sneezed, Greg looked at me wrong, Greg doesn't like my mom, Greg was my mom's neighbor.
Jeff, you're not going fast now. You've slowed it down. Jeff, real quick, one more bullet point. Okay? And guess what? 1
poor decision is made. Bullet point number 3. One poor decision is made. We've all made poor decisions in our life. Jared lives in the IE. I bet he's made a whole bunch of them. Okay?
I don't know what's happening
We've all
anymore.
made poor decisions. It comes down to one play.
Your mom made a poor decision.
Bad challenge. And it's a 1-1 tie game.
Yeah,
Okay?
look, Jeff, I get your point. I do. That's a lot of words. I'm going to let Jeff go. It's a lot of words to say.
Jeff woke up today and chose violence against the chat. He chose violence against the chat.
He chose
and here's the thing, I don't think
violence.
he's wrong on a lot of the things in terms of like, we need some adults in the room like on some of this stuff. Like everyone's got their up in their feelings about the U.S. men's national team sometimes. Like it's just like qualifying. One result doesn't dictate the process, and the result that was got today was very similar to a road game in qualifying. You know, you're happy with a win, but you'll take a point because you're trying to get the magical 4, and you still have the 4 within your own destiny. You control your destiny right now. The only problem is going to be is that Wales gets Iran first. So they get the opportunity to kind of dictate the momentum because the U.S. has to go through England, and that is
I don't know that momentum matters. I mean, I think if you know what you have to do going into the Iran game, there's an advantage in that too on some level. I mean, again, if you get a point out of the England game, I'm not betting on them to do it, but if you get a point out of the England game, then you're probably more in the driver's seat. I mean, you're in the driver's seat at that point, right? Because if you beat Iran and Wales loses to England, it doesn't matter what Wales does against Iran.
Yeah, I mean that's nice. I guess if you really believe you're going to get a result.
No,
against England
I'm not saying I'm saying that you should be playing for that, so that you don't have to leave it up to goal differential in the game against Iran. Mike from Oberlin, what's up?
Oh, yeah, doing well. I was just watching the game and had some thoughts. Yeah, I thought we started out in the first half really well. I thought we were controlling the game. Like, I really thought, we were playing well offensively. We were taking it to Wales. We got the goal, which was really nice, but it felt like in the second half, I thought that Wales started to dominate a bit more of the game, but it wasn't like they had any, clear-cut chances other than, of course, the penalty kick. But, we had our chances in on the break to where we could have, increased the lead, but we, didn't do it. And there was just one mistake by Zimmerman that really changed the game. I've been hearing comments about England, about how we're going to lose, but can you really tell just from this one game if England's actually the real deal? Like, yeah, they won their game, but it's against Iran, and Iran conceded 6 goals. And this is the same England team that ended up losing, what was it? I think to Hungary in the Nations League. And they finished in last place in their group in the Nations League. I'm not 100% sure, but I think, I think that still anything's possible. That's probably my takeaway.
Yeah,
I don't think he's necessarily wrong, but the thing is that England got exactly what they needed most, and that was a rhythm game to start the tournament. They're a team that hadn't won in 6 games to into this, but they got to open with the softest opponent in the group, and they got to do exactly what they wanted. They put up a big score line. So confidence, all those 6 games, they're not thinking about that at all. They are not thinking at all about those 6 games versus before the whistle blew, you knew they were. So they got the rhythm game. They got the confidence game. And the U.S. got a little bit of that tonight, too. Like a little bit. That first half, that's a confidence builder. You can build on that. You can say, hey, coming out the box, we executed our game plan. Hey, maybe we just didn't make the right moves down to stretch. Maybe Berhalter behind the closed doors even takes that one on the chin with the team and says, hey, it's not on you. That's on me. Let's go back out there and do what we can do, know what we can do against England.
All right, let's see what Canada thinks about this. Vince from Toronto, you're on the air. What's up?
Good, guys. How are you guys feeling?
Good, Vince. You got 2 more days to wait for Canada's game. How are you going to handle that?
I don't know, man. This is the World Cup. Oh God, I'm watching your game on the edge of my seat. I can't imagine what's going to happen when Canada lines up against Belgium.
Yeah, you get a fun one right off the top too.
Yeah, I think a point, no matter how it comes for Canada, would be a lovely thing in a game against Belgium.
Yeah. Vince, as a neutral, and obviously you always we all have a rooted interest in CONCACAF when we're watching, even when it's not our team. But what's your take on what you saw as a neutral perspective today? Not as someone who bleeds USMNT. What's the neutral take today?
So I think the big one is that first half for me was Berhalter ball at its best. that way a goal was fantastic. That finish was sublime. I don't think he didn't put it to that great outside the foot finish by Weah. The second half, obviously, I feel Wales got it wrong from the outset. I put in the chat early on. I think if Moore starts the game, we're having a very different conversation because Green and Robinson were not comfortable dealing with him when he drove go out wide and get ready for the set pieces and stuff. So the U.S. was kind of let off the hook that for whatever reason they decided to run geriatric Bale out there up top. But ultimately, that second half, man, and I this is the thing I kind of want to ask you guys about, just based on Berhalter, the plan A, the lack of a plan B. I feel like Berhalter's barometer of his plan A working is the Mexico game, because ultimately that's the highest competition that he's able to get out of him, right? And the U.S. recently was very successful against Mexico. I think he kind of forgets that Mexico is the worst Mexico we've seen, at least in my lifetime. I don't know about you guys, but
fair.
And none of those games were blowouts, right? You had the Dos a Cero and then those last-minute winners in those games last year. I wish he would have done more to have a plan B, because plan A is great, but a lot of these guys can't go 90 minutes. We've seen Weston McKennie start, stop with his injuries. We all know Pulisic's injury history, Reyna's as well.
Yeah.
It's difficult when the quality is going to drop off with the substitutes, which is normal, right? That's the pool. The pool is what it is. But to just have everybody a little bit disjointed and disorganized every time this happens, it's frustrating, right? And now I worry about the next game, because ultimately, if England beats the U.S., England could very well rotate against Wales, and then who knows how that game turns out, especially with the U.S. needing a win. I just want to know what you guys think about Berhalter and the plan A.
So the England thing, thanks for the call. The England thing about rotating in that last game, Jared, I think that's maybe a slight worry, but England, even with their second choice team, is still a team that can beat Wales. I don't think you necessarily think you're going to have a massive drop off just because England bench a couple guys.
Yeah, and I think this is I think it's correct when I see a lot of people in the chat saying England wants to put this away in the next game. They want to put this away.
Sure.
6 points, done. The Wales game doesn't matter. And that's not a good result for the U.S. I mean, not just the loss of 3 points, but nothing to play for in the Wales game. That's rough. That's rough.
So here's what I'll say. You saw Iran victimize England once from open play, right? And then obviously the late penalty that made it a little bit tighter. England had their way. So obviously scoring early is a big difference, right? Once the ball is rolling, if the other team doesn't think they're going to have much of a shot, then emotionally it's going to be really hard for them to get back up for it when they are at such a disadvantage talent-wise. The United States is at a disadvantage to England, but not the same one that Iran is. And I do think that, as long as the United States doesn't give up a goal in the first 5 minutes of that game, they're at least capable of victimizing England defensively the same way that Iran did in those moments when Taremi was dangerous and that kind of thing. I'm just saying, it's possible. I'm not saying it's likely. Sure. I'm saying it's possible.
Yeah.
Right? And the one thing that I will say about that first half, and Vince called it Berhalter ball is best. That's true to an extent, but the problem is that with Berhalter ball, one of the consistencies is we don't get shots. We had one shot, we converted that shot. We just don't get shots. We don't have anybody who can, even trying to get Serge into spots where maybe he can unleash like he did against Costa Rica and qualify. Yeah. It just doesn't come off, and we're missing that element. We're missing somebody who can threaten.
I would be surprised if we don't have more shots. Whatever the result is in the England game, I'd be surprised if we don't have more shots in the England game. Just because
I would hope so.
The way that England's going to open up is going to allow for more opportunities for creative offense for the U.S. Sergio Dest can't get to a shooting position because there's 8 guys in front of him all the time. Yeah. It's really hard to get to that shooting position. So I don't read too much into it. I am concerned that there's only one shot on goal in general. Not necessarily that didn't come from Sergio Dest, but I just feel like should have been more in general. The service from the wings wasn't great.
Right. This is true. We had a couple of decent crosses, but not enough to really threaten. And again, Wales they had 3 big bodies in the box most of the time. All right, let's go to Giovanni. I got 2 calls I got to get to, and then we got to wrap this thing up. Giovanni from Riverside. What is this? An IE day? What's happening here? What's up? What's up, Giovanni?
All the players are
What's going
up.
on, fellas? How you guys doing today?
Could be better. Could be better.
Yeah, I feel you, man. So after listening to all you guys' callers, look, man, I'm not gonna vent like the last previous caller you guys had, where he was going all wild out. But I will say this: I saw two things today. The first half, which was fucking great. I don't know if I'll start. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to cut. First half, it was great. Second half, look, man, Wells, when they changed up their tactics, Berhalter, nothing. And the other thing I want to point out, which everybody knows, Zimmerman. I don't know what happened, what went through his head. Defense 101, you don't tackle a high-profile player in the penalty box. You guys don't do it. All eyes are on that one play.
Especially his back to
tackle
goal.
Garrett Bell. Yeah, especially if you're back to goal. You don't do it. That's defense 101. Now, he was probably caught up in the moment, but I just, man, I was so
Can't go
frustrated
lunging.
when I saw that happen.
Can't go lunging. No.
Yeah. I was just, And then
Yeah.
not only that, but one more thing to add on. Morris for Weah. If you're trying to change a game, you don't put a stronger body. You go with somebody that has finesse and tactical mind frame to go attack the ball to get the team to go up and give them an inspiration for a reason to score a goal. Sorry, guys.
The question is, like, did the USA have access to that player today? That finesse player.
I'm gonna let Giovanni go and give you an update on the other Giovanni. Apparently, Berhalter has said that they were guarding against some tightness when they played that scrimmage against the Qatari team. Something about we're trying to get him up to speed. There was some tightness guarding against it, and they decided that in that moment, in that phase of the game, that Morris was a better option than Gio. I mean,
It's
look,
understandable. There were a lot of guys coming up lame in that game. You know, there was a lot of hard hits, a lot of lunging tackles. Is that really what we want Gio Reyna? Do you want him for 20 minutes to try and win that game, or do you want him potentially for 45 to 90 over in one of these two other games? I mean, is it pragmatic? Yes, but I understand a little bit.
all right, let's get one more call, and then we're going to close up shop here. Clyde from Lakeland, Florida. Clyde, you're on the air. What's up?
Hey, guys. So let's try to make it quick. I know you guys are on a tight schedule, it seems like. But I guess my whole thing is, what actually is Berhalter ball? We haven't really seen any consistency in terms of our play style at all during, like qualifiers and stuff like that. I think that Berhalter ball is just letting these naturally talented players dictate how to play. And I think going into the second half, he decided he wants to coach more. He wants to be a little bit more of a say in how we determine the play and stuff. And he overcoached, and that's kind of what caused us to be a little bit more timid. Now, I am a Greg hater. I don't necessarily love the way that he coaches, but that's kind of my perspective on Greg. Another thing, getting all my thoughts out there. Another thing is everybody else was also saying, except he's just because Pulisic is the best player on our team, does not mean that he's the best in dead ball. He does not need to be taking corners. And I understand the perspective, but just because he is our best player does not mean that we taking that mindset. Let somebody else give it a try because he just wasn't it. And then lastly, Carter Vickers over Zimmerman. I know there's some people in chat thinking that Zimmerman actually played a decent game, but I saw shakiness the entire game. And what I know from Carter Vickers, I know that he had a very good season last season. And I think that maybe Tim Ream was a chance, like was a little bit of a shot in the dark. I would not expect him to start because of the way that Greg has been, but he's playing him on form, and I thought Tim Ream played amazing. And I think that maybe we should consider that against or with Carter Vickers as well, because he in the past his form has shown that he's been doing pretty good, and I think that maybe he needs to get a chance as well. But I know it's a little bit soon, and it's a little bit more of an MLS bias, but I do think Carter Vickers could maybe prove himself out there against England, especially.
Okay. I appreciate the call, Clay.
I don't think you can go with two guys that have barely played for the national team.
It's a coin flip. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Walker Zimmerman is miles better than Cameron Katavitas, but he is in more experience in this team. He's been in this group. He certainly understands what's asked at the national team level. I don't know.
Those two guys combined have started 2 or 3 games for the national team in the last calendar year. You put them both in there together on the biggest stage. I don't see the value in it. Especially when Zimmerman, other than that tackle, had a good game. He did. I'm sorry people don't want to say it. He had a good game, except for the lapse in judgment moment. And maybe that negates it for a lot of people.
When you come to the World Cup, what matters isn't the 89 and a half minutes, or I guess in this case, what was it, like 100 minutes? It was forever, because apparently added time is going to be like that at the World Cup. It's that one moment, that one mistake. And, sometimes those mistakes don't get punished. Count Acosta had a game-saving moment when he slowed down Gareth Bale on a counter-attacking opportunity for Wales, but he also gave the ball away and helped create a Wales chance, or nearly create a Wales chance. So these things can go both ways. And look, if you go back and watch the game, it's not like Tyler was perfect with the ball. There were moments, right? It's just a matter of when those things get punished, they obviously jump off the page. And it's on the other team, right? What you want to do is limit those moments to as few as possible. And those teams that have those players who don't make mistakes or make the kind of mistakes that won't be punished, they win World Cups. That's it. That's where it's at. All right. Anything, Mr. DuBois, you want to toss in here before we bounce?
Just remember, guys, maybe some of you guys are finding the show for the first time. We've got a lot of people in here today. If you aren't already subscribed to us, go ahead and hit that button, subscribe. Hit a like if you can as well.
Tell somebody.
Notified. Tell somebody as well.
Tell somebody.
If this is your vibe, we try to do it as often as we can. Bookmark us here, subscribe, and get notified next time we're going to be going live.
I got so wrapped up in all the national team talk, I didn't even use any of the board. I didn't even drop any. We didn't have. Tim Weah's goal at that one.
No, you know the drop for Tim Weah, and you're not using it.
Oh no, I'm saying the goal, the quality of the goal. That's what I'm asking you. This is Tim.
Oh, here we go, saucing them up. Hit him, what?
That's the Tim Weah drop. That's Clint Dempsey describing Tim Weah, saucing him up. All right. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/thebestsoccershow. We just did a bonus where we all drafted 8 of us, some of us on the show, and then some listeners drafted a set of 4 teams rather at the World Cup. We get points for wins in the knockout stages, reaching the knockout stages and stuff like that.
So the way to get part of that is to be part of our Patreon, and take part in our Slack. If you want an environment that does not like Twitter for U.S. men's national team fans and more accommodating and nice, feel free to join in that Slack.
Oh,
if you're not one of those people, stay the hell away.
But people are still fired up. People still have opinions.
Still fired up.
It's just a little different vibe than the Twitter machine. That's for sure. Yeah. All right. We're out of here. Thank you very much for listening. We're back at it perhaps on Friday. I don't know that we have a plan yet, but we will let you know. So make sure you subscribe to get notified. See you soon. Bye.
Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
Oh, it's incredible!
What are we doing?
Take us to DEFCON 3.
WNBC. WNBC. Get to the chopper!
Hey, A-Ron, where are you?
Who asked those questions?
Damn, dog, that's in a props.
The horror show.
The Sausage King of Chicago.
Michael freaking Arasco Fiscal.
Jay Rodius.